One of the hardest parts about being an educator is the time commitment. And it's not something that no one tells you about it until you're already knee deep in it. And in a teaching hospital like the one that I work in, you also participate in the educational process of other providers. So physician residency programs of all shapes and sizes, including, fellowships, surgical residencies, you name it. I'm a part of that educational process. When they step foot into my ICU, into the ICU that I'm working, it's just who I am, to teach them something while they're with me. Now, not everybody shares my passion for education, so it's a little different depending on where you go. But as an educator, if you've accepted that role, if you've embraced that role, part of being an educator is the time commitment. You better be willing to put in the time. And it's the time commitment I'm talking about: doing the research, preparing, coming up with concepts, looking at the census while you're on the clinical floor and deciding, what concepts do you want to talk about, what patient has an interesting diagnosis, what are the clinical challenges, what's the pace of the unit, who are the other learners on the floor, how can everybody be involved in the educational process of all of the learners regardless of their role. And as an educator, you're going to have to find a balance between educating, teaching, picking the concepts, taking the time to effectively convey your messages, taking questions, having prepared information versus it's the middle of the day and something comes up and it's a concept that's new or interesting or something you want to talk about, so then you're off on a tangent about that particular concept. All of these things take time. Time taken away from your responsibilities of your jobby job. So while you're having to do and fulfill the responsibilities that you're being paid for, you also have to educate. So finding that balance is really hard. And the truth of the matter is, most of the time, education is something that will delay you from doing your other responsibilities. Is it going to affect patient care in some way, shape, or form? It should never do that. But for instance, you may end up having to stay late to do documenting, to review documenting with your student, with the learner, so that they understand a concept. Being an educator goes above and beyond that chunk of time that you're assigned to your job. And I'm not alone on this one, because I've witnessed it from several different levels, different aspects. We have a lot of learners in my facility, so some nurses who are preceptors will stay late for a long period of time so that their student, their preceptee, can do all of the things they need to do. And the learner takes 10 times longer than you would. So you have to sit and allow them to navigate the process at their pace. Even though you know that you could do it in a 16th of the time that they do it, you have to allow them to do the process and allow them to fulfill the task. So you have to sit back and be the monitor, which extends your day extensively. Extensively? So as an educator, you have to accept that responsibility. If you're interested in being an educator, if you like teaching, it is a nature of the beast. It is part of the trade. You can minimize a lot of things, but you cannot cut corners when it comes to allowing a learner to learn at their own pace. It is that simple fact that burns people out, that causes people who are interested in being an educator to lean towards other things, or to kind of drift away from educating because of the extensive and prolonged time commitment. Doesn't mean that you're going to have long nights every day that you work, but you will have extra time that is required. You got to be okay with that.